Hi, future teacher, and welcome to this NES Elementary Education Subtest 1 Social Studies Practice Test. This video lesson is proudly presented by teacherpreps.com, the #1 choice for test prep to pass your teacher certification exam. This NES Elementary Education Assessment evaluates your professional knowledge as a prospective elementary education teacher. And in this video, I'll present you with the types of social studies questions that you are likely to see on test day. Note that the social studies portion of this exam makes up 38% of your total score. Now, in order to help you get totally prepared, this practice test will guide you through a simulation for the types of questions you can expect to see on test day. If, however, you're feeling overwhelmed about preparing for this important exam, give yourself the all-access test prep that includes everything you need to pass your teacher certification exam with ease, including video lessons for busy students that help you study faster, study guides written in a non-fluff, bullet point style, interactive activities that help you master the technical vocabulary, and best of all, timed practice tests that simulate what you'll receive on exam day. Just visit teacherpreps.com now, click the blue button in the top right corner labeled Get Test Prep Now to give yourself everything you need to pass in one place so you can ace your upcoming teacher certification exam. Without further ado, let's begin this practice test. In teaching a unit about Civil War, which activities best encourage students to develop a deep understanding of the material? The correct response is letter D, facilitating a simulation of a civil war where students play different roles. Which of the following primary sources would provide the most authentic insight into life during the Great Depression? Correct response is letter C, diaries or letters from individuals living during the Great Depression. To help students understand diversity within society, which teaching method would be most effective? Correct response? Letter A, teaching about the customs and traditions of different cultures. Which innovation had the biggest impact on communication and industry in the 19th century? Correct response? Letter B, the invention of the telegraph. The Renaissance is best known for what specific cultural advancement? Correct response? Letter C, a rebirth and advancement in arts and learning. Which geographical feature significantly contributed to the cultural isolation of ancient China? Correct response? Letter A, the Gobi Desert. Which geographic tool is best suited to accurately display the population density of different countries? Correct response? A thematic map. Which amendment from the U.S. Constitution specifically protects citizens' right to freely practice their religion? Correct response? Letter A, First Amendment. Which Supreme Court case upheld the constitutionality of segregation in public facilities given they were separate but equal? Correct response? Letter B, Plessy v. Ferguson. What does the concept of supply and demand predict in a market economy? Correct response? Letter C, the price equilibrium of goods and services. Which teaching strategy promotes active learning in a social studies lesson about the American Revolution? Correct response? Letter A. Conducting a role play of the Boston Tea Party. To evaluate elementary students' understanding of democratic principles, a teacher could. Correct response, letter B. Ask students to participate in a mock election. Which architectural feature is commonly associated with ancient Rome? Correct response, letter C. Arch and dome structures. In the context of American history, the term manifest destiny refers to. Correct response, letter A. The belief in American expansion across the continent. Select the accurate climate zone description for the Sahara region. Correct response, letter D. Hot desert climate. Which geographical factor directly influenced the agricultural practices in ancient Egypt? Correct response, letter B. The Nile River floods. In the American political system, the principle of checks and balances is implemented to. Correct response, letter A. Ensure a balanced distribution of powers across all branches of government. What was the primary purpose of the American Bill of Rights? Correct response, letter B. To protect individual liberties from government intrusion. Which economic concept is demonstrated when a toy's price increases due to its high demand during the holiday season? Correct response, letter C. Law of demand. Which of the following best describes the function of money as a medium of exchange? Correct response, letter D. Money facilitates the exchange of goods and services between businesses and consumers. What geographic term is used to describe the Earth's 7 major land areas? Correct response, letter A. Continents. Which woman played a significant role in the woman's suffrage movement in the early 20th century? Correct response, letter C. Susan B. Anthony. Which branch of the U.S. government has the power to declare war? Correct response, letter B. Legislative branch. What basic principle of the U.S. Constitution means that government power is split between the federal and state governments? Correct response, letter D. Federalism. To evaluate a student's understanding of the cause and effect relationship within a historical event, a teacher could best achieve this by asking the student to. Correct response, letter C. Write an essay explaining the series of events. What economic term describes a situation where supply and demand are equal? Correct response, letter A. Equilibrium. Which explorer is credited with discovering America in 1492? Correct response, letter B, Christopher Columbus. What are the five major oceans on Earth? Correct response, letter B, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, Arctic, and Southern. Which First Amendment right allows citizens to request a change in governance? Correct response, letter D, right to petition. In teaching the concepts of needs and wants to second graders interactively, the teacher should. Correct response, letter C, conduct an activity involving identification of their own needs and wants. The tool used by governments to manage the economy's money supply and interest rates is known as. Correct response, letter A, monetary policy. The American Civil War was fought between. Correct response, letter A, the North and the South. Which U.S. document outlines the structure and functions of the federal government? Correct response, letter D, the U.S. Constitution. What are the lines on a globe or map that run from the North Pole to the South Pole called? Correct response, letter B, longitude lines. The historical era referred to as the Roaring Twenties in America is primarily associated with. Correct response, letter A, the economic prosperity. Which principle of democracy states that the government's power is derived from the people? Correct response, letter C, popular sovereignty. Which geographical feature forms a natural border between the United States and Mexico? Correct response, letter B, the Rio Grande River. A fourth grade teacher is teaching about the American Revolution. What is an appropriate way for her to assess students' understanding of this concept? Correct response, letter C. Have students draw a timeline of events leading to the American Revolution. What economic system is characterized by private ownership of capital goods, private investment, and a competitive marketplace that determines success and failure? Correct response, letter A. Capitalism. Which approach allows students to explore their local community and develop an understanding of how their community works? Correct response, letter D. Community study approach. In the context of economics, what is the definition of supply? Correct response, letter B. The amount of product producers are willing and able to produce. A map scale is useful for. Correct response is letter C. Determining the actual distance between 2 points on the map. Which of the following events triggered the start of World War I? Correct response, letter A. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The use of field trips in teaching can effectively. Correct response is letter B. Provide students with first-hand experiences. Inflation refers to a or an. Correct response is letter C. Increase in overall level of prices in an economy. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution protects. Correct response, letter D. Freedom of speech. Earth's rotation results in. Correct response, letter A. The rising and setting of the sun. The Great Migration of the United States refers to the movement of. Correct response, letter B. African Americans from the rural South to the urban North. Effective social studies instruction promotes. Correct response, letter C. If you're feeling overwhelmed about preparing for your important exam, give yourself the all-access test prep that includes everything you need to pass your teacher certification exam with ease. Just visit teacherpreps.com now, click the blue button in the top right corner labeled Get Test Prep Now so you can ace your upcoming teacher certification exam.